Apple was pretty big back then. This was 2011, so we sold in 2010. We were a small startup. We had launched a free app in the App Store called Siri. Steve Jobs called unannounced our office on the phone, and then he offered to buy our company. We looked at each other, we said, "Thank you, we're flattered, not interested, goodbye," and we walked out of his house.
Wow.
He called us 30 days in a row, every day, convincing us, and the rest is history.
I love that. Welcome to Health is Wealth. I'm Dr. Myron Rolle. Today we have the privilege of speaking with a tech pioneer and software engineer, Adam Cheyer. Adam Cheyer is best known as co-founder of Siri, the virtual assistant now integral to Apple devices, and for his work on numerous other groundbreaking AI platforms. He has dedicated his career to advancing conversational AI and intelligent interfaces. Beyond his technological feats, Adam is also a passionate advocate for men's health, using his influence to encourage proactive and preventative wellness. Before we welcome him to the show, here's a little bit more about our guest, Adam Cheyer.
But first, a message from our sponsor.
My name is Adam Cheyer, and I grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts. The first time I really got into computers was when they arrived. I was a sophomore in high school, and the computer center was first set up. I had no idea how they worked. I showed up and just started to learn programming on my own. By the end of the school year, I was the fourth best in the school, and we won the state championships, and I was the high scorer for our team in the national ACM programming championships, all before I took my first computer class.
This is really cool. It's a feature all about our voice. That's a feature in the iPhone 4S we call Siri.
We were a small startup. We had launched a free app in the App Store called Siri, and people were downloading it, liking it. And just a little bit after, Steve Jobs called our office unannounced, and he said, "Hey, it's Steve. Why don't you come over to my house tomorrow?" And we're like, Steve Jobs is calling our company? Like, amazing. And then we're like, how did he get the number? Because Siri, I don't know if people know this, means secret in Swahili. We had no website, no phone number, and yet Steve Jobs was calling us. We believed that we could change the world more by joining Apple than being an independent little startup, and the rest is history.
Adam, thanks so much for joining us on Health as Well. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I want to start back at the roots, the origin story of Adam Cheyer. Take us back. You were from Sharon, Massachusetts. Tell me about growing up there, the Northeast, your experiences, and how it all started for you.
It was a great place to grow up, a great childhood. I'd say the defining factor is I was bored almost all the time, which is fantastic. Kids today get just bombarded with media and things to do. There's no time for boredom. And I think that led to a lot of my creativity. Sharon had no stoplights back when I was growing up. It was at least a mile to my nearest friend, to either run or walk or bike. And that environment of just having a lot of time on your hands to come up with, creative things to spend it, I think was really important. My parents only allowed me 1 hour a week of TV, and the rest, it was on my own to invent my own ideas and amusement.
I love that. I did my neurosurgery residency training at Massachusetts General Hospital. So I was up there for 7 years, and I think the people in that area are incredible. When I first got there, coming from Florida to your part of the country, I was like, man, it's taken me a little bit to break into some of these folks. They're not sort of like open and jolly and affable, like maybe someone from the South might be. But once you do get in, loyal, friendly, they'll open up their arms to you. And I told them that the Patriots had beat me when I played football multiple times, so they were happy about that. But tell me about the folks in your life. Tell me about the people of Massachusetts who shaped your life growing up, that sort of guided who Adam is today.
I think I have to start with family. My mother was probably a genius, but, Mensa rated, super smart,
Yeah.
strong-willed woman, but she did not care what society thought of her, which as a kid, you're like cringe all the time. Like, the way she dressed, the way she talked, she just had no fear, but such a good heart, such strong intelligence, strong values. I really think that shaped me a lot. My father was a civil engineer and environmental engineer, so he built water treatment plants and was a big conservation person. And just as, I think he wasn't born with the smarts as much, although he went to MIT at age 17, he knew how to work. And he really taught that, just dedicated perseverance. He stayed in the same career from the lowest position all the way up at the same company. And he just, again, strong values, smart, but man, he knew how to work, how to get organized, how to be efficient. So if you take sort of the creative influences and the kookiness, if you will, from my mom, and the kind of the slightly more rigid engineering mind, but with just work ethic, that was my dad. And I think I got a little bit of both of those in me.
Definitely. That's fantastic. Seeing the sort of confluence of influences on your life and how it shaped you to be who you are today. And a part of your upbringing, so you had some early exposure to technology. How did computer science and AI speak to you as a young person, if it did at all?
So I was in high school in the 80s. I was a Rubik's Cube champion, Northeast Rubik's Cube champion. So the first transition to computers and technology was when I wrote my first ever computer program. It was literally to solve Rubik's Cube. So for me, it was like, that was the driving force. I wanted to improve. I wanted to learn more, and computers were a tool that could help me. Once I got to college, what I was interested in is probably what you were interested in somewhat. It's the most miraculous thing in the entire universe is the human mind. So I actually have a Bachelor of Arts in computer science, but really I took a 360-degree study in how we are the miracles that we are, our mind. So I took psychology, sociology, neuroscience, computer science, artificial intelligence, every aspect, linguistics, everything I could learn to just discover more about, how we do what we do. That was what was interesting to me. And computer science was really a way to apply anything that I've learned, and trying to replicate how we do what we do.
That's fantastic. And yeah, definitely. The mind, the brain, psychology, sociology around it. You mentioned neuroscience. It's all fascinating. What these connectivity, these pathways that we have in our brain, and how, especially for me as a pediatric brain surgeon, the neuroplasticity of rewiring the brain to kind of learn new functions.
Incredible.
But the thing that I worry about is social acceptance and kid having confidence and feeling like himself. One of my sons has hearing aids because he has a bit of a hearing loss. And, I really wasn't worried about his academic success or his prowess, but more so how kids were going to look at him with these hearing aids in, because he's kind of different. You, as a Rubik's Cube champion in the Northeast, you being exceptionally smart, were you sort of looked at as different, other, not like the rest of the kids? Or was there that social pressure, that stigmatization that sometimes happened in your early childhood?
For sure. I was not mainstream, popular, homecoming king or whatever. I did marry, by the way. My wife was a homecoming queen, so
there you go.
I did one up there. But I had a little bit of athleticism. I was a runner. I was recruited to the national champion university at the university level. I was one of the best in the state of Massachusetts running, but that I wouldn't say was enough to make me mainstream popular. And I never really desired that. I wanted to hang out with people who were interested in the same kinds of things I was, which was, more nerdy things, computers and chess and Rubik's Cube and puzzles and literature and whatever it was. Like, I wanted to hang out with people talking about that. I think a lot of it comes from parents giving you unconditional love and kind of acceptance. I think that gave me a confidence in who I am because I had that base, that security of love as a foundation. And after that, I never really, had to seek out affirmation from others. I could be who I wanted. So my best advice for your kids is just to always, to have a way to love them and be around and be constant presence in their life. And I think that is one of the most important things you can give a child for their confidence, for their self-acceptance. The rest, they'll figure out.
Yeah. This is like a therapy session for myself. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. This is great. We'll dive deeper into health. The show is called Health is Wealth, but I do want to sort of dip my toe into a little bit of health. As you're working to learn about the brain, learn about artificial intelligence to sort of become who you are today in sort of those early stages of your career, you often see the sort of depiction of incredibly bright, gifted, talented, smart people like yourself working late hours, drinking a lot of coffee and trying to stay up, trying to stay activated, getting poor sleep hygiene because they're always at the grind, trying to be at the forefront of, innovative new technology or ways to do things. How was it for you in the early stages of your life, balancing your health, your wellness, your well-being with this pursuit of a true intense passion that you had?
That's a great question. I'd say in college, it's not just a technology thing, it's probably a college thing. You stay up too late, you don't get enough sleep, you're doing too many things. So that was me. I've always been incredibly passionate about something. And it's true, when I get a project in mind and I want to build it on a computer, time flies by. It might be 24 hours, 36 hours, and then I look up and I'm like, oh, I better go to sleep now. So certainly during college years in particular, I would really let myself follow my passions, my creativity. If I was interested in something, I'd go and get in a zone and hours would slip by. So I can't say I kept in those days a regular sleep schedule. I've never been the junk food, pizza, Cheez-It kind of guy. Maybe that came from being a little bit of an athlete as a runner.
Yeah.
So I was always trying to keep my body, relatively healthy. But now as I'm older, I'm 60, so it's time to, I do think about sleep. I wear my monitoring devices that tell me the quality of my sleep and things of that sort. I'm watching my weight conscientiously, which when I weighed 130 pounds, a 6-foot person in college, I didn't need to worry about, eating too much, for instance. I was burning off the metabolism. So I would say the care and focus on health has changed as I've aged, which I think is normal. For me, it's all about, having a good quality of life for as long as I can. I want to be able to do the things that I can do. So I work really hard at staying healthy now. I work out 5 days a week with a trainer. I run 3 times a week. I play basketball 2.5 hours in a row. I play tennis. Like, I work at staying this good looking, right? This healthy. But you have to, right? You have to.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I love it. And you do look good. You said 60. I said, boy, man, I want to look like that when I get 60. I do want to talk about Siri, though. It's now synonymous with Apple. That was something that you helped create the mastermind behind it. What was the initial vision for Siri, and what specific problem were you hoping to solve when you first started developing it?
So here's the backstory. My first version of Siri and my vision for Siri was actually 33 years ago this year, 1993.
Wow.
And just to set context, the web browser wasn't invented till the next year, 1994, when Mosaic came out, right? So at the time, everyone had this desktop computer, and you could only compute using the software, the programs that you had on that computer. You would load up your computer with, floppy disk drives and CD-ROMs to put the software on it. And I said, someday there will be content and services around the world on other people's computers. And we'll need a way to discover those services and content and to interact with them. I thought everyone would have a personal assistant. You could just say, I want to know this, or I want to do that. And the assistant would know where everything was, and it would understand what you asked, and then it would help automate the task of getting it done. So that was the original vision in 1993. I built it. It was pretty cool, I've got to say. We can fast forward to when we started a company in 2007, once the iPhone had come out. I said, now is the time to take this idea I've been playing with for 15 years. Now I think it can actually be a real thing, et cetera. But even today, as we sit here in 2026, I'm still waiting for an assistant that I can say, I want to know this or do that. It'll understand me and break things down. And people say, well, wait, don't we have ChatGPT? ChatGPT is 1,000 times better than Siri. I'm like, oh, really? With Siri, I can say, tell my wife I'm going to be late, and it'll send her a message. Does ChatGPT do that? Oh, no, it doesn't do that. It just tells you words. So I'm still looking and seeking for this vision that I set out 33 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what you've done and what you're doing. And I think there's also a lesson in that story, in the sense that, young people watching this show who may have an idea, right? A spark that happens. This was in 1993, before other people could even conceptualize what you were doing or where this may go, where Siri may go. You already had it ruminating. You already had the thoughts going. And so for other people who have big dreams or ambitions or things they're passionate about, like you talked about, don't be dismayed if the world doesn't see it, doesn't know it, doesn't support it, or, really has nowhere to put it, right? Because it may find its place, even if it's, years later, like you talked about. I think that's fantastic, Adam.
And another lesson for readers, I have a bunch of friends who are just turning 40. And from a health and wellness and mindset perspective, 40 is a scary number for many. They're like, oh, I'm 40. Maybe I'm not married yet. Maybe I haven't done anything yet. I don't have my career figured out. They're like worried. And what I tell them is, I never started a company. I never did anything consequential until after my 40s. And then I did 5 of them. So not only am I co-creator of Siri, which sold to Apple, I helped start change.org, which is the world's largest petition platform. More than 500 million members use it every day. I helped start Viv Labs, which sold to Samsung, got on to 500 million devices. But I think it's comforting to people that you don't have to have everything done. Life doesn't end at 40. You don't have to have everything figured out. There's still a lot of time to do your best work ahead. And I think that's an important message for people reaching that milestone.
Definitely. In the early days of Siri, you talked about sort of building companies, but what was it like transitioning from that startup to a core product within a massive company like Apple?
Apple was pretty big back then. This was 2011, so we sold in 2010. We had launched a free app. Steve Jobs called unannounced our office on the phone, and it's like, hey, it's Steve, come over to my house. We're like, what? Steve Jobs is calling us? We eventually sold to Apple, and then we transitioned over, and everything at Apple is secret. So even though it's a massive company, we were kind of in a little restricted area, and it was pretty much us. It was still a small team. And the biggest realization, the biggest challenge, especially from a health perspective, was once we actually launched October 4th, 2011, and coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, Steve Jobs died the very next day. After the launch, the uptake was so extreme. Like, they had tried to estimate how many people are going to be talking to their phones. They were off by multiple orders of magnitude, the marketing people. So our servers were literally burning. So from beginning of October until Thanksgiving of that year, like a month and a half, we were sleeping on army cots for 3 hours a night. We were just trying to keep the whole thing running because the world was going crazy about Siri. So it was an extremely intense time. I'm so proud of the team who worked on it. And then eventually things stabilized. We added more servers, and the rest is history.
I want to push into health now and really challenge some of our viewers with some of your insights on preventative health, men's health, screening, prevention. You talk about the workouts that you do, the diets that you consume, how you are keeping up to date with your sleep schedule and these sorts of things. Take me through why men's health and preventative health has a special and important place in your life now.
I remember turning 40. I was playing basketball, and I'm like, I feel just like yesterday. What's the difference of 40? And like a response, I took a shot, and the ball wedged, in the rim, got stuck on the rim. And I'm like, oh, when I was 20, I would have just jumped up and taken the ball down.
Yep.
When I was 30, I would have jumped up, hit the ball, but it probably would have stayed wedged. And at 40, I'm like, ball, please. Right. So we do age. And I know that 40 and 60 are moments where there are kind of nonlinear declines in men's health, right? And in order to be able to walk up a flight of stairs when you're in your mid-80s, you need to be in good shape. In order to do that, I need to put in the work. If I just sit, all sorts of problems are going to come. And I just want to do the things I want to do. I want to be who I want to be for as long as I can. And so for me, I do now pay attention to what I eat, when I exercise, how much I sleep, because I think those are the biggest 3 factors that you can do to help extend longevity, right? And quality of life. I don't want to live necessarily more years. We're all going to live to some number, but I want to make most of those years as great as they can possibly be. That's my motivation.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that sentiment, because I feel like those folks who do prioritize their health early on when they can, their body will thank them. One of the biggest reasons why our senior citizens end up in the hospital or in long-term rehab stays is because of falls, right? Walking upstairs, can't do it, don't have that strength in their legs, the core strength, the things that might have been aided and improved when they were in their 50s and their 60s. These sort of knock you down, and that leads to infections, that leads to pneumonia, that leads to bed sores, that leads to UTIs and all sorts of things that can quicken the demise. So I appreciate that sentiment, and I think our viewers will appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I challenge myself. So a year ago, I trained and ran a 12-kilometer race, Beta Breakers in San Francisco. It's a kind of a party race, but fun. I challenged myself to beat my time from 30 years ago.
Wow. And
anything you can do at 59, that better than you could do at 29, is worthwhile. It's a challenge, but I love setting goals, trying to achieve them, striving a little bit. It gives something to work towards, to measure, to improve. And that for me is a big part of health. You can't improve something if you can't measure it. But trying to measure and iterate and improve and get better, that's the best way to stay healthy.
So Adam, we have this thing in my hospital in Orlando called DAX Copilot. It essentially is an artificial intelligence that allows me to put on my phone, turn it on, and then I talk to my patient and the patient's family, and it generates a note for me. It can tell that it's my voice, then it can tell that it's the parent's voice, it can tell it's the patient's voice. It has saved my clinic days almost 2 to 3 hours just of like paperwork that I hate doing, frankly, as a physician. So I've seen AI sort of improve my life as a medical provider. But speak to me how you think that AI, artificial intelligence, can improve personal well-being in people, our normal everyday citizen who just wants to achieve a certain health goal, maybe not beat their time 30 years ago in a long-distance endurance run, but just wants to be around for their kids and for this world. How can AI improve health in general?
I would say there's many ways AI is being used behind the scenes for most people. Doctors like yourself are using it in clinics to help save time. The use of drug discovery, it's amazing what has happened there. So behind the scenes AI is being used. But for me, if you're just a guy or a woman, you want to improve, there are assistants, health assistants, AI assistants that can really be your coach and talk you through things. My son yesterday just started running, and he has some Achilles problem. He's 25, so still young. He bought one of those watches. I won't say exactly the brand, but it comes with an AI coach. So it measures his heart rate, says all of these things, sleep as well. You know, it's not a replacement for human doctors, but these things are now omnipresent, right? You can just anytime talk to your favorite assistant and get some advice. Help say, I have this goal, but I don't know where to start. Let it put together a plan. Say, that's too hard. Start easier. Let it put an easy plan and build from that, right? It can be a coach, a motivator, you know, not a replacement for a doctor, but having good knowledge around, you know, all the time does make an improvement to people's health. So I would encourage take any of the AI assistants you have access to and set some goals and see if it can help you get there.
You know, all those years of training and studying, I'm glad you say it's not going to replace me because I put in a lot of work, Adam. We put in a lot of work, you know? I'm glad you say we're going to stick around, you know?
I've been a programmer for, 40 years professionally in AI, and now AI is starting to program computers. Like my job's in jeopardy too. So
Nice. Well, you're an advisor to Reva Health. For our viewers who don't know about it, share a little of the backstory there and why you decided to get involved with Reva Health.
So 2 reasons. One is personal. So my co-founder at Siri was a guy named Doug Kitlaus, an amazing individual. We gelled. He's a marketing visionary type. I'm a technology visionary builder, and we fit together. So we did Siri, changed the world. We then did another company called Viv Labs together, and then he started Reva Health. And I wasn't yet prepared to join that. I had a few other things I needed to do. But I said, if you're doing something I know it's important, I will join you at least as an advisor. So part of it was personal. And Doug cared a lot about medical issues because he actually came down with the same exact rare form of pancreatic cancer that killed Steve Jobs.
Oh, boy.
And because we had just turned 50 10 years ago, he happened to go get a scan, a health scan. His wife's like, oh, you're 50 now, you should do it, full checkup. And they caught this pancreatic tumor early. So if he had waited 6 months, it's, as you know, probably a death sentence.
Yes.
But because they caught it early, he listened to his wife. There's a lesson right there, viewers. Go get that health checkup. It saved his life. But that really, made it personal, the idea for health. So part of it was because of him. The second reason is Reva was working on one of the biggest problems that impact adults today, which is hypertension or high blood pressure. And their main product made it so easy to get a blood pressure reading. So rather than go into a doctor and have the cuffs put on, you could take your phone and get an extremely accurate reading anytime you wanted. And just by doing that, again, identifying early hypertension or high blood pressure, you can now give treatments. It can save lives. And, and maybe your viewers know this or don't, but almost half of American adults in the US have high blood pressure, right? It's a huge contributor to stroke, to cardiac issues, etc. It's one of the silent killers because, like pancreatic cancer, by the time you find out about it, it's kind of late.
You're absolutely right. My mother has high blood pressure, and so understanding that that it runs in families, that some demographics are genetically predisposed to it as well. Then you also think about the diets, things that we consume daily that's cheap to make but costly to our body. Recognizing, as you mentioned, and what Reva Health does, recognizing some of these silent killers early, it allows medical providers, the treatments that you were speaking about, to get out in front of these issues.
Yeah, catch it early. Catch it all early.
Well, the last question I have for you, Adam, is, what's next? Like, what's the next steps? We talked about the word being content. You talked about how you never really settled when you're an entrepreneur, when you're someone as gifted and talented as you, someone who's as intelligent as you and who has made such an impact. There may be something around the corner, and you may not be able at liberty to reveal exactly what it is, but just in general, where are you going? What's next for Adam?
So I am, I did step away from quietly stepped away from my last role as VP of AI experience at Airbnb. I'm taking time to really focus on what's next, what is the next chapter, but I'm working on a few different projects just because I believe in them. And one I think is worth mentioning, which is health is not only physical well-being, it's also mental well-being. And one of the things that I see driving a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety right now is the social media political environment that we're in, right? Whatever side you're on, people are stressing out. It is, this division is hurting us as a country. So, and the media, the social media, the technology, the AI technology sending us all of these streams and these posts and videos, it's like ramping up the temperature. So what I'm doing is working on a project to actually not solve the problem, not change anyone's mind per se, but to kind of bring down the temperature to allow more civil discussions, to pop some of that vacuum tube, accelerometer that going and getting people so riled up. I have some ideas how AI can try to bring us together more as a country, and I think that will be worthwhile for many reasons, including for just the health and well-being of so many of our citizens.
I love that, and I cannot wait for that to come out. Having young patients who battle with the comment section of posts on Facebook and TikTok and social media, it's really hard sometimes for them to sort of separate. It's hard, not only for kids, but adults too, to separate like
Absolutely.
What's real, what's not real, what should I be listening to, what should I be listening to. And so your efforts there, I think, will not be in vain, and I definitely appreciate that. And thanks for giving us a little sneak peek on that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for spending time with us, being on Health is Wealth. You have been an outstanding guest and someone who not only is intellectually gifted, I could tell that, right? It's clear as day that, your mind is a very, very special tool that thankfully the world has been able to benefit as the byproduct of your ingenious creations and endeavors. But I think your approach to life, your perspective on family and on the next generation of folks who are coming up, to prioritize our health, to make it matter, and to make our world more harmonious together as a team, I think all of that is really awesome, and I feel our viewers will gain a lot from this episode, from us talking and spending time together. So I just appreciate you carving out some time for us at Health is Wealth.
Yeah, thank you so much for the conversation, Dr. Rolle.
Yes, sir. Thank you.